Okay. So in the beginning of the third chapter, in the beginning of the fifth chapter, uh, Arjuna asks, like at the end of fourth chapter actually, Arjuna asks two questions like, which is better, working in Krishna consciousness uh, or being at home and doing worship and working for everything, and but being Krishna conscious, working in Krishna consciousness is better, or renouncing everything and going in the forest is better. Hmm? So Krishna, for that he explains in the fifth chapter that he explains how working in Krishna consciousness and or going in forest or doing tapasya is also both the paths will lead to the ultimate perfection of life. But Krishna says, in my opinion, working in Krishna consciousness is better because both the paths will lead to the same goal. So if somebody goes to 100-floor building, and if you ask the person at the reception, I want to go to 99th floor, what do you think is better, using the lift or shall I go by the staircase? So, and that person will think, okay, it's up to you. No, both the ways will can take to the top floor. But this lift is easy. Now using elevator is easy, and using staircase will be difficult. That's the only difference. So in Krishna says in fifth chapter that both the paths will lead to the same goal, but in my opinion, working in Krishna consciousness is better, easier. And he explains about how to work in Krishna consciousness and he explains about karma yoga. We already discussed, right? Karma kanda is different from karma yoga, and karma is different from karma kanda. So karma means just doing working on instinct, means just like if you feel like doing something, you just do without thinking about anything. And karma kanda means acting according to the rules and regulations of Vedic rituals. You perform this puja for the satisfaction of this demigod and performing yajna, something like that. And karma yoga means engaging all our active actions in Krishna service. That is karma yoga. So, and in the karma yoga, next step is like action in Krishna consciousness, means karma yoga also, so, there are different stages actually, always working as you like and giving the results of your action to Krishna. That is one path. And and another path is always acting Krishna, always being Krishna conscious and also giving results. That is more advanced actually. So karma yoga is best. That's what Krishna concludes in the fifth chapter. But Krishna asked about Dhyana yoga also, right? Krishna asked, should I renounce everything and go to forest and do tapasya? What do you think? Which is better? And further, Krishna again, he first clears the answer. So he says that this path is easy. Working in Krishna consciousness is easy. But because Arjuna has put forth a question, right? If somebody asks, should I take this job or that job? And for example, uh, I finished my intermediate. No, not intermediate, 10th class. In India, right? After finishing 10th class, you have to take either MPC or BPC, or you have to go to engineering or medicine or arts. There will have a choice, right? So like that, then at that point of time, I consulted some experienced persons, who are like, I'm interested actually going into, I don't have a specific interest. I would like to know which path is better. So that person says, okay, if you take this way, there will be math, science, and everything MPC, math, physics, and chemistry. And if you take this path, by PC, like and arts is like this. So they will give directions, and they will say how difficult this path will be, mm, how much time you have to spend studying, like that. The same way, when Arjuna asks, should I take this path or that path, Krishna first explains about acting in Krishna consciousness. And he explains acting in Krishna consciousness is easier. And in order to explain how, he also has to explain about other path also, right? Which is renunciation. If you just renounce and go to forest and meditate on Krishna, that is also that is also a bona fide path, but Krishna says that is easy. It is not easy. So, but here you can see the title Dhyana Yoga, and underneath chapter 6, it is EASI. It doesn't mean that Dhyana Yoga is easy. It's only for the sake of abbreviation, because in this slideshow presentation, we actually that one devotee made these presentations. Okay, he actually summarized entire contents of the chapter into one word. E means enemy or friend. That verses 1 to 9 explains. Means it talks about the mind. And about A means Ashtanga Yoga. He talks about what are the different aspects involved in Ashtanga Yoga, and what will be the someone who takes the path of Ashtanga Yoga, and what will be the future of that kind of persons if he succeeds or failures. And at the end he says who is the best yogi. So this, even though this path is so as said, this path is very troublesome, difficult to perform. So but still Krishna explains it so that just to give an idea of how this path looks like. Okay, and we'll so in the beginning of the 6th chapter, Krishna starts, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Okay. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti ya sasanyasa cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of action, fruits of his work, and works, and who works as he is obliged, is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not one who lights no fire and performs no duty. So here he means, Krishna is saying those who perform their duty are best among the yogis. Means is initially declaring that, but still he goes ahead and describes the path of Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, so one who desires the practice of Ashtanga Yoga should not suddenly give up the prescribed duties, karma yoga, that purifies his heart. Although working, since karma yogi renounces the results of his actions, he is called sannyasi. And because his mind doesn't dwell on the enjoyment or sense object. So as long as one who performs activity, but still he is not attached to the fruits of his action, and he performs that activity only as a duty. So he is as good as a sannyasi. That's what Krishna says. Okay, and then Krishna says, as Krishna goes and explains, yoga or sannyasa are the same. Okay, that is, detached action is the same as renunciation for one who can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So if you see in the previous chapters, like Krishna says, Krishna asks Arjuna to be a yogi in all the situations. To be a yogi means, first qualification of a yogi means he has to have detachment at the heart. Okay, he should not be attached to the fruits of his actions. Okay, so in the first two verses, that is the first verse, and the second verse, these are what you call purport of like translation of second verse. What Krishna says that Ashtanga yogi should not give up nishkama karma yoga, and that and the sannyasa or yoga are the same. Okay, so now Krishna goes ahead and explain what is the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga has 8 parts. Okay, uh, there it can be classified as Yoga Ruda and Yoga Ruksha. Yoga Ruksha means beginning stage, means the first 4 steps, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. This is Yoga Ruksha stage. And the higher, after he he called he develops good command on these 4 aspects, then he will further go ahead and goes to the next stage of Ashtanga Yoga, means Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. So Yama means if don'ts, do's and don'ts. Okay, so it's like 5 yamas means like don'ts. Okay, yama means like which are not to be done. And niyama means to be done, do's and don'ts. Yama niyama, first two parts are what are the don'ts, like what a yogi should avoid in his life, and niyama means what he should do regularly. And then asana means how he has to practice some bodily postures for advancing in yoga system. And then pranayama means that is breathing exercise. Okay, we'll discuss a little bit about these aspects of Ashtanga Yoga. So, don'ts means regulatory things. Okay, like he should not be, like perform prescribed duties, and like like in Krishna conscious movement we have don'ts, right? Like 4 regulatory principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. Why these? Because Krishna consciousness movement is mainly associated with consciousness. Okay, so if you do this, it will greatly affect our consciousness. So that's why Prabhupada has established this 4 regulatory principles. And that is don'ts, yama. And what is niyama? And chant 16 rounds. You avoid these 4, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. Avoid these 4, and then next niyama is chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that is yama niyama of Krishna conscious movement. So, but for yogis, they are like yamas and niyamas that we discuss later on, and then after yama niyama is over, asanas. By when we see yogis, they will be sitting in lotus posture, sitting on the mat or elevated platform, and they practice where like it is said, like for a person to develop higher concentration or high uh, good command on the mind, one should try to keep his body steady. So like just like when there is water in a container, if you want the water to be as steady, not like a moving or rippling, then you should make the container steady, right? First you have to keep the container steady. So if you keep the body steady, and in a nice posture, comfortable posture, where none of your body or parts get stressed out, that is asana. Then when your body is steady, then you do like it is said, best way of controlling the mind is controlling the life airs. Like if you see, like for suppose, if you are watching something very mesmerizing, immediately your breathing will stop, and your breathing will slow down a lot. But if you are very much frightened, or you are very much tensed, and immediately your breathing will become faster and faster and faster. So how we breathe, like our status of our mind will change how we breathe, right? So what we are doing here in pranayama, so after keeping the body posture steady by practicing the asanas, and then by using pranayama we can control the mind. Means if by regulating the breathing, by concentrating and regulating the breathing. Now, our pranayama has different like inhalation, exhalation, puraka, kumbhaka, reshaka. There are different aspects of pranayama. Means you will controlly take the breath and breathe out and focus on the focus on mind control. That is pranayama. After attaining pranayama means pratyahara. Pratyahara is describing about withdrawing the senses from the sense object. Means you detach yourself from all the sense objects. Means like eyes will be focusing on eyes, ears, nose, tongue, everything. You will bring back and uh, bring it to a point of concentration, like bring to a focus. Okay, that is pratyahara. And then dharana, fix your mind on Lord's form. Means like in the Ashtanga Yoga process, they will fix their mind in some form. Like either they internally they meditate on a form of Krishna, or externally they can actually meditate on the deity of Krishna. And then after practicing this for many years, or it depends on how much perfectly that person is doing, then he will become dharana. Means like without much effort all these are attained. Means nice bodily posture, controlling the mind, and focusing gathering all the senses, means controlling all the senses and focusing on single object of the form of the Lord. That can be achieved, the dharana can be achieved. After practicing dharana for some time, or for long time, then dhyana will develop. It's like an intensified meditation on the Lord. That is dhyana. So after doing this for a long time, then like it also actually it don't have to be long time. It depends on person to person how much seriously or sincerely that person is doing. And then he will reach the stage of samadhi. Samadhi stage means complete absorption. That person will lose everything and he sits in meditation and focusing on the form of the Lord for many days, or for long time. That is samadhi. So these are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. So 5 yamas for the Ashtanga yogis are ahimsa. You should be non-violent, and satya, you should only speak truth. Means, and then brahmacharya and aparigraha means not taking anything from others. Okay, means which is not belongs to us. And then what are 5 niyamas? Means shaucha means cleanness, santushta means satisfied within himself, tapasya means performing austerity, swadhyaya means reading scriptures, ishvara pranidhana or always being absorbed in the form of the Lord. So those are do's and don'ts of the Ashtanga Yogi process. And then to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place. Actually, before going to this stage, here Krishna speaks in the verse 5 to 6. Krishna speaks about how mind is our both enemy and friend. Okay, Krishna says one must deliver himself, the soul, by the mind. One should not degrade himself by the or distracted senses. The controlled mind is a friend, and uncontrolled mind is enemy. Okay, the mind is the best friend for one who has conquered it, and the mind is the greatest enemy for one who failed to conquer it. Means, so like here the slide says the mindset behind the successful relationship. Means it is not relationship with anybody, but relationship with our mind itself. We have to see, if we have nice control on our mind, we can. It depends on the mind only, because seeing positivity in even the negative consequences, or seeing negativity in the even where everything is positive, it all depends on what is the mindset of that person. Some persons will, like, however nicely you deal with that person, you'll only find faults with us or anyone. But some persons will be there, even if they are offended, or even if they are not treated well, They will be so happy, so pleasing, like that. No? I'm just giving an example, okay? So it depends on the mind. What is your vision? What is your mindset? Mm. So it is said that if you have the red color goggle, like glasses, and you will see the entire world around you red or blue. Mm. So what are the color of the goggles you have, okay? So in the same way, it depends on the mind, the how, like how we can understand what type of mind we have. You see what type of person you see around, what type of things you see around. If you see only the positive people who are very pleasing, who are no, very nice, and who are always no, uh, if you see that qualities in others, means your mind is also like that. If you see like if you see people only, you know, they're like pretenders, cheaters, means your mind is in negative. Well, your mind is more of in negative. Okay, so the our vision on the world is the reflection of our mind. So if our mind has more positivity, outside we will see much positivity. If our mind has much of negativity, we see outside also much of negativity. I'm talking about normal circumstances. Okay, and then Krishna says, uh, before Krishna says, in this slide only, okay, the symptoms of a person in uh, perfected stage of yoga. Okay, it means like as I said, there are yoga rudha and yoga ruksha stage, right? That yoga rudha stage, when a person is perfected in the eightfold mysticism, means when he is perfected in all these eight process of no eightfold of yoga system, then he will have a controlled mind, and he attained tranquility, approach completely approached the super soul, neutral to all dualities, and satisfied in sastric knowledge. Okay, so there are different qualities. Okay, and after explaining all this, Krishna mentions to practice this yoga, to practice one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with deer skin or soft cloth, and then seed should be neither too high nor too low, and should be situated in a sacred place, and yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling the mind and senses and activities. So this is what is the requirement for practicing this, like a for Ashtanga yoga. Even externals matters. Okay, is how you see it, what kind of place you chose to. So it happens a lot. Means like because the surroundings and everything, you cannot practice yoga staying in the middle of all the disturbing circumstances, or where all the family members are doing a lot of other activities around us, in a living room where everybody is there. You cannot sit there and steadily sit there. It will be so, even if you are not opening your eyes, your mind will be going here and there. So it needs a secluded place, and all the requirements are given here. Okay, and Krishna also describes about what should be the goal of Ashtanga yogis. By practicing the control of body, mind, and activities with regulated mind, like Ashtanga yogi should focus on cessation of the material existence and focus on Lord Krishna. That is the goal. Means he will be able to stop his material activities and going back to the kingdom of uh, going back to Godhead. That is the goal. Okay, and then what is the diet recommended for the Ashtanga yogis? Means he should not eat too little, or he should not sleep, and he should not eat too much. he should not sleep too little, and he should not sleep too much. And regulation in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work in yoga mitigates all the sufferings. Okay, he says that the verse is yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmashu yukta swapna yukta sapna vabhosyasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Means he actually regulates all these activities nicely so that he will, you know, so I will explain all these qualities, then I will give how we can explain how we can implement them in our life. Okay, and perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga means when he reaches the perfectional stage, means I showed you that eighth path, right? When he reaches that stage, so he will be disciplining the mental activities or consciousness. He becomes fixed in the self or transcendence, divide of our material desires. Just like, you know, the lamp which is kept in a windless place, how steady it will be. That like that, his mind will be very steady and calm. Okay, and then Krishna also speaks of realizations of perfection or samadhi. You know, when he reaches the stage of samadhi, his consciousness is completely restrained from the material activities, and he can see the soul by pure mind and then be satisfied within it. Okay, and he gets boundless spiritual bliss, and he never deviated from the truth of spiritual nature. So that is the stage of samadhi. That is the perfectional stage. After practicing all these things, a person will reach the stage. Okay. So to reach the stage, Krishna explains what a sadhaka should do. Okay. So samadhi is the stage of trance. We explained, right? His concentration will be perfectly on the form of meditation, and means like the form of the Lord. And to reach the stage, we should practice with determination and with devotion, without deviation. Okay, giving up all material desires, born of mental speculation, and controlling the senses on all the sides by the mind. Finally, coming to trance through the intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus fix the mind in the self alone, thinking nothing else. Okay. So whenever, like, you know, a yogi is trying to do all this asana, what do you call, sadhana of focusing the mind on the form of the Lord and bringing all his senses, and then his mind will go here and there. No, his mind will go off. No, and he should patiently bring it back and again concentrate the mind on the form. And when a yogi does this for a long time, he'll reach a stage where whose mind he'll be peaceful, and he will be fixed in the form of the Lord and attain the supreme bliss. And thus, by constant practice of self-control, yogi is freed from all sins and contacts the supreme spirit and attains the supreme bliss. So, and when a yogi reaches the perfectional stage, he observes Krishna and as the super soul living in all beings. Means he will have an equal vision, and then he sees everything as belonging to Krishna, and then the self-realized person sees the supreme personality of Godhead everywhere, and for him Krishna says, I am never lost to him, and nor he ever lost to me. So these are the different stages where the sadhaka will go through when he is performing Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, and he worships Krishna in the form of Paramatma, situated in the hearts of all the living entities, and sees all the beings equally and by comparison to his own, and consider their happiness and distress as his own. Okay. So after explaining this, and at the end, Krishna says, after explaining all these processes of Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna says to Arjuna, Ashtanga Yoga is impractical due to flicker. Arjuna says to Krishna, because Ashtanga Yoga process means controlling the mind and being going to a place of being a solitary place and sitting in nice posture, control and adopting the body, making the body steady, and then fixing the mind and focusing on the form of the Lord and controlling the senses. These are all very impractical. And Arjuna says, no, oh Krishna, the mind is flickering, turbulent, and obstinate, and very strong. To subdue the mind, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. That is what Arjuna says. Means after listening to all the process of Ashtanga Yoga, means all the process explained here of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Arjuna says this seems to be very impractical, because for me to control the mind is like controlling the wind. Then Krishna says it is undoubtedly very difficult to control the mind, but by practice and detachment one can control the mind. Krishna in fact, no, it is saying for the Ashtanga yogis, okay, not for the not trying to convince Arjuna, okay, but Arjuna, Krishna means like controlling the mind is very difficult. But if, for suppose, I'll give one small example. Now, let me first explain how we can use this knowledge in our day-to-day life. Okay. So, what is saying? We are saying yamas and niyamas, right? Do's and don'ts. We already discussed. No, just follow 4 regulative principles because it affects our consciousness. Means no meditating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. That don'ts we follow, and then do's, chanting holy name of Krishna, and then asana, because no, uh, the process of bhakti yoga doesn't involve any particular asana. The asana refers to, you can sit in a posture which is comfortable, which your body can comfortably uh, stay without much of giving trouble for our sadhana. That is the asana. And then this pranayama, the when we chant Hare Krishna mantra is such that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Devotee says the pranayama is already embedded in the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, because our mantra inhaling, exhaling involves there. And when we don't have to, in order to control our mind, we just have to focus on the mantra only. You just recite the mantra and hear the mantra again. By if it is very difficult for us to stay doing nothing. If somebody says do here and sit here and don't do anything, even in your mind don't do anything, it is very difficult. Even if you sit for a moment, our mind will go to some different places. Okay, so but if somebody says, okay, you sit here and read this book, and that is very easy for us, right? You just have to sit and focus on the book and contents of the book and try to understand the book. Like that means when we engage our mind in something positive, it is easy to control the mind, which is and something pleasing. So the Krishna conscious movement, reading scriptures and Bhagavad Gita is a little bit of philosophical, but if you read Bhagavatam, and Bhagavatam is full of stories and pastimes, and every pastime is very, very interesting. It is easy to meditate on the how these characters, and by studying the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can easily bring back our mind and then focus our mind on Krishna. And focusing on Krishna is also equivalent to focusing on Krishna's pastime. It is very difficult to always meditate on the form of Krishna in the mind, but it is very easy to observe ourselves on the pastimes of Krishna. So when we read Srimad Bhagavatam or hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it is as equivalent as focusing on the form of Krishna in the meditation. So we can use all these qualities and all these rules and regulations in our Krishna conscious sadhana. Okay, so the Krishna conscious movement, like the process involves 5 factors, means sadhana, seva, swadhyaya, sangha, and sadachar. Okay, so sadhana, seva, sangha, sadachar, and swadhyaya. So we read scriptures, means we read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we read scriptures, and we do sadhana by practicing the holy name of the Lord, by chanting the holy name of Krishna. And then by doing these two, we can, most of our sadhana is accomplished. Our mind can be easily controlled. Our mind has something positive to meditate on, something like it doesn't have to focus on something nothingness. So it can easily meditate on the past on Krishna. Okay, that is the focusing on the Krishna is the ultimate purpose of yoga. Okay, so that is, this is Ashtanga yoga. I'm comparing this Ashtanga yoga to Bhakti yoga. And here, when Arjuna says that this Ashtanga yoga is very impractical, Krishna says, no, this can be done by it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. Okay, we have to detach ourselves from the objects of sense gratification, which agitates us so much that we cannot be able to focus on some in Krishna consciousness. Means we can use the rules and regulations for making us, for our advancement in Krishna consciousness, means our sadhana. So after that, Arjuna asked one question. After when okay, so you said, no, when Arjuna asked this question, when Arjuna asked this question, no, mind is restless and troublesome, and it is very difficult to control the mind. Krishna didn't say, yeah, that's why I said you don't follow this Ashtanga yoga process. You just follow the Karma yoga process. Krishna didn't say that, because whenever Krishna gives something, when Krishna explains about karma, when Krishna explains about dhyana, when Krishna explains about bhakti, he will be very specific, and he will give sufficient knowledge for a person who is interested in that path. So when Krishna says this mind is very difficult, very I cannot control the mind, but Krishna encourages him, saying that it's just by practice of it is possible by suitable practice, means nice abhyasa and vairagya. So when we practice controlling the mind, like one day it will be more turbulent, first day it will be more turbulent. As we gradually tries to control the mind, it will get used to, and it will start listening to us. When we say our mind don't focus on anything except this, then our mind will do that. So we can use all these steps in our Krishna consciousness. Means when we sit for chanting Hare Krishna mantra, we can use our mind only to chant holy name of Krishna and then listen to that mantra. When we focus on that, after few days or months or years, we will be able to realize much taste in Krishna consciousness, means in chanting. Chanting won't be any burdensome. And if you miss chanting, it will be like you are missing something. Like that means your mind will get used to that sadhana, and your mind will actually brings you back to Krishna consciousness. You don't feel like something is going wrong, something is missing. That feeling you'll have. Then you do your sadhana and you will be fully satisfied, like that. your mind will become like that. And one more example, when Krishna says mind is our enemy and mind is our friend, whatever the thing we give to our mind, it will get adapted to us. Means, as we discussed previously, mind is, the nature of mind is Anandamaya Abhyasa, means it is always hankering for happiness. So, but if you, in the beginning stage, when we take up anything positive, anything which will give, substantial, which any process that will do us substantial good, we will be able, that will initially we will not be able to like it. But when we convince our mind, when we know, when we make our mind to do that, patiently, when it gets deviated, bringing it back and concentrating on the sadhana, then our mind will get used to that, and it will be able to release that. So when Krishna says, okay, you do abhyasa and vairagya, means when a yogi does sadhana for long time, practice with conviction and then with detachment, then he will attain perfection. That's what Krishna says. Then Arjuna asks one question: what is the destiny of unsuccessful yogi? Means, if a yogi, he was in his material life, he was doing his job and doing something, but he suddenly develops like a desire that he wants to practice this Ashtanga yoga, or renunciation. So he leaves everything and goes to forest, and then goes to a solitary place, and practice this thing for a long time. But due to some reason, he falls down. Means, he gives up that practice, and then try to do something else. Then Krishna says, there is no misfortune. One who has engaged in the auspicious activity does not meet the destruction or misfortune, either in attaining the spiritual goal or material goals. Okay. So when a yogi is not able to complete this process, when it is related to Krishna, either he can be a bhakti yogi or he can be a Ashtanga yogi, he will not lose his results. Okay. He will, especially when it is related to bhakti yoga, if he does 10% progress in this lifetime, in the next lifetime he will start this process from 11th percent. So if he finishes in this lifetime 99%, in the next lifetime this he will just finish off that 1% and go back to Godhead. So Krishna says that there is no loss or diminution in this path. Okay. So an unsuccessful yogi who falls after a short practice attains the planet of pious and enjoy there for many years. Then he takes birth in a house of religious or wealthy persons. Why a person who renounces everything and takes up the process of yoga falls down? Because his mind does not develop proper detachment. Means, he has interest in some sense object because he wants to enjoy in this material world. Now, for a yogi, this material world is only, it is like a, what you call, working place, karma bhumi. This place is not meant for enjoyment. Some enjoyment is there, in fact, but it is not only meant for enjoyment. It is meant for realizing the purpose of whatever it is. We have to first understand what is the purpose of our life, what is the purpose of human form of life, and engage ourselves in some form of yoga. But when a yogi was not, but there is a chance because of the previous conditioning, because we are doing many things, we are watching movies, we are going somewhere else, we are doing many things in this world, right? Previously, when we, due to our conditioning, our fall down may happen due to any reason. Or fall down may be due to some bad association, or tendency to enjoy in this material world. So due to that nature, Krishna will give him a chance. He will actually promote that unsuccessful yogi after he leaves his body. He will promote him to the heavenly planets, where he can enjoy the sensory objects for many long time. and he will be satisfied so much that, and he will come back again into this material world and starts again where he has left over. And then when he, with his full conviction, when he does this practice, he will finally attain perfection of going back to Godhead. So I have explained everything. If you have any questions or comments, you can take from here. Were you able to follow? Hare Krishna. Anybody?
Prabhu.
Yes, yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. You have a question?
No, Prabhu.
So we explained about, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay, yes, Mataji. So I will
I
just
have,
add
yeah,
one more thing to cover.
yeah, sure,
So
sure.
at the end, no, after explaining everything, Krishna explains about, he already explains about Karma Yoga, he explained about, all the, and now in this chapter he explains about Ashtanga Yoga, means how a person who performs this Ashtanga Yoga has to goes through different processes and he has to control his mind and senses. And at the end, Krishna says, a yogi is greater than an ascetic. Let me see that verse. In this verse only, okay. A yogi is greater than ascetic, greater than empiric, or greater than a fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. And then after, by this time, Krishna explains three processes of yogis, okay. He already explains about karma yogi, he already explains about, jnana, means the knowledge process, transcendental knowledge. And then he explains about dhyana yoga. In this chapter, he explains about dhyana yogi, means dhyana yogi means ashtanga yogi. And then Krishna says, Krishna is saying Arjuna to be a yogi, and then Krishna says, yoginam api sarvesha madgater antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamamata, means among all the yogis, it's not working. Of all the yogis, the one with the great faith who always abide in me, and thinks of me within himself, worships me and renders service unto me with great faith, is the most intimately united with me in yoga. Means he is the who like he is, Krishna is saying about a devotee right here. So of all the yogis, a person who is a devotee is a best among all the yogis. So he is indirectly saying you don't you don't worry of all this. You can use all this knowledge in your bhakti yoga process. So that is the essence of this this chapter. So and Krishna explained all the process of yoga only to bring to the conclusion that, to show that unless if there are four choices, and what if somebody asks what is the best, and Krishna might say, okay, of all the process of yoga, bhakti yoga process is best, okay. Then after then one may ask how it is best. Then he has to explain, okay, this process, this karma yoga involves this and this and this, and this jnana yoga involves this and this and this, and dhyana yoga involves this ashtanga, this 8 processes like that. And then finally he says, before he starts bhakti yoga process, he says bhakti yoga is the best. So the next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are based on bhakti yoga. So he explained all the previous 6 chapters on 3 processes of yoga in the 5 chapters, and next 6 chapters will be on bhakti yoga. So being a devotee of Krishna is the highest form of yoga. So yeah, I'm sorry, actually I missed the slide. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Mate, sorry, you can ask the question now.
So as body has a starting and end, like when you get birth it's starting and when you die it's a end. Does soul has something like that? It has formed from some time, or like,
Soul has what?
or it soul must be formed first time, right? And then it's
So yeah,
going.
soul is eternally existing, Mataji. Just like
Okay,
Krishna, for Krishna there is no birth and no death. In the same way,
right.
it is a part. It is like it's a part and parcel of Krishna. So
Okay,
it has been existing eternally. No?
eternally. Okay,
Sometimes it goes into material world. Sometimes it goes into Swargaloka, and it is actually is supposed to be in the spiritual world. But when it
right.
comes in this material world, it takes different forms, and again goes back to spiritual world. But Krishna says in
Okay,
Bhagavad Gita, once it goes back to spiritual world, it won't come back again,
okay.
because no, like it's due to illusion. Like when the soul wants to
Ah,
enjoy independent of Krishna, it is sent into this material world. Okay, you want to
right,
enjoy, but it is not possible to for the soul to enjoy in the spiritual world. So
right,
Krishna sends that soul to this material world to enjoy. Then when the soul realizes that it is not a better idea to enjoy independent of Krishna, I can be better enjoying with Krishna rather than independent of Krishna. Then when he realizes that his constitutional position, and he goes back to again to spiritual world. And just like you have kids, right? So your kids
right,
sometimes the kids will fight with their parents,
right,
and out of anger, he goes out of the home, and then he tries to enjoy outside. Now he
right,
tries to stay away from the parents, and he realizes that he is miserable, and he doesn't get the proper health care, he doesn't get proper food, he doesn't have proper shelter, and he doesn't have nobody to love him. Then he realizes,
right,
I'm not happy here without my parents, so I have to go back to my parents. So he comes back home. When he
right,
realizes that, okay, there is no happiness outside, then he stays with his home, with his at his place. That is, he got an experience. So in the same way,
right,
the soul is already existing with Krishna. It's like soul is like a part and parcel of Krishna. Soul is like a child of Krishna.
right,
When soul wants to enjoy environment of Krishna, it goes into this material world and takes these illusory forms. Like in this lifetime, like he'll take he'll marry someone, and he will be in certain family, and he has certain position, and he has certain amount of wealth, and he will be able to control certain number of people, or certain amount of region. That is our illusion. After some time, everything is gone at his death, and then he'll be again kept into some other position based on his karma.
right,
And then after going through all these experiences, at the end of when one becomes self-realized, he can be able to remember all his previous lives, and he said enough
right.
is enough. There is so much frustration here. I don't want to stay anymore in this life, in this material world. I want to go back to Godhead. Then he goes back to Godhead, just like a child comes back home.
Right.
So that's
And
like Prabhupada wrote, going back home, back to Godhead. Means our home
right,
is spiritual world, and we are
right.
here only to enjoy the illusory material pleasure.
So, as an adult, when you realize that, is it a good thing? I mean, is it okay to tell kids to follow all these things from childhood? Because,
Yeah, that's
as
true,
you
Mataji.
said, mind, right, as mind will be
Yes,
taught,
childhood is the best.
right,
Childhood is the best time to
right,
train the kids, because that is the time when the kids will be in a learning stage. When they get
right,
something like something about spirituality, if you see some devotee kids, they will be right from the childhood. They will be chanting.
right,
They will be doing kirtans. So
right,
if they develop all these good nice spiritual topics in the early childhood,
hmm,
if they like by mistake, if they get deviated, they will be able to again come back.
right,
But
right,
if they
when
don't get
later life,
this education in the childhood, then there is a very less chance that they will become spiritual later in their stage, because outside middle world is so polluted that always work and the enjoy and intoxication, politics. So
right,
we'll get lost, but when the child is listening to us, when the like you can be able to teach a child or control a child only to a certain when until you reach certain age limit. After that you
Right.
cannot be able to control it. So
Right.
when you teach your kids right now how to be spiritual, when we have to teach them, we have to be spiritual first. We have to know, right?
Right.
No?
Right.
If you have to teach somebody something, means you have to have full proficiency in that subject matter. So
Right.
unless you are spiritual, you cannot teach them, ask them to be spiritual.
Right.
So like the action means achar. Achar is the best prachar.
Right.
So that is the best thing. Actually, Prahlad Maharaj says one should be spiritual right from the age of 5.
Age
Means
of 5. Okay.
five because from the age of 5 the child starts learning things. So
Right.
if he learns all the spiritual things, if you see Srila Prabhupada's life, his
Right.
father taught him, all the worships, all the, he gifted
Right.
him all the deities of Krishna, and then taught all the basic philosophy of Krishna consciousness right in his childhood only.
Right.
So that's how even after, because after he become little bigger, he in the middle he stopped his practices. No, he didn't stop fully. He gave little less time to the spiritual things.
Right. Right.
Then again, after he gets married and he took sannyas, he again everything came back, and he again with full fledged he was able to, with full conviction, he came to America and established Krishna conscious movement, and became so many thousands of disciples. So if you have the strong roots, then we can go for long.
Yeah.
They
Right.
can grow longer. No? If you give the kids right in the early age, even if kids leave Krishna, Krishna won't leave the kids.
Right.
So that is the best thing. Any more question? Okay, we'll end it here. Karantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks for joining. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you.